Noah's Ark. Before the Great Flood, the world had become filled with wicked men, so much so that the Lord decided to destroy the face of the earth. And God said to Noah, "The end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth." There was so much convincing evidence uncovered at the site that the Turkish government declared this area to be Noah's Ark National Park. And yet today, the world is unaware of this amazing discovery. Ron Wyatt was operating his ground-penetrating equipment before Turkish authorities when he spotted an object just below the surface. What they found was this beautiful deck timber. It was tested at Galbraith Labs for organic carbon. The level of organic carbon was extremely high, thus proving this object was once living matter, consistent with wood. Mr. Wyatt was able to display the deck timber on CNN when he was interviewed on their network. The timber is in 3 layers, much like plywood, with glue oozing out at the end. This makes it stronger than one solid piece of wood. The outer area is covered in black pitch. Using radar equipment, Ron Wyatt discovered an open cavity on the starboard side of the Ark. Utilizing a core drilling technique, he was able to gain access to the interior of the Ark. Stunning evidence was pulled from the belly of the ship. Using an improvised long rake device, petrified animal dung was extracted from the hull. Next, cat hair was also pulled from the cavity. Then, a petrified antler was extracted. This large metal rivet, or metal washer around a metal rod, was found by Ron Wyatt when he had taken a tour group to the site in 1991. The center rod had been struck while it was hot, causing it to flare out, holding the washer in place. Test results showed that it contained 8% aluminum metal. Aluminum metal is man-made, thus proving the site to be man-made. Skeptics have said Mr. Wyatt was lying about the testing, but was he really? When the Ark Discovery International team was at the Ark site, they used a metal detector to locate metal fittings on the Ark. This is a crescent-shaped piece of metal that had been a circular washer in its better days and was found near the bow on the port side. A portion of it tested at Galbraith Labs in Tennessee, and the results were stunning. It was 8% aluminum metal, just as Ron Wyatt's test had revealed. The test additionally showed a small amount of titanium metal that is also man-made. The Ark Discovery team continued its analysis at the site and located another fitting on the starboard side. We come to the village of Kazan, where portions of the Ark's directional system were released, thus allowing the Ark to float more freely. This village was known as the Place of the 8, named so for the 8 survivors of the flood. This is the first area that Noah and his family lived after the flood. The large anchor stones were hung from the rear of the Ark to keep the rear facing oncoming waves. It created a type of resistance in the water, allowing the rounded rear of the Ark to fend off powerful waves that would critically damage the Ark if struck broadside. This is our first anchor stone. Measuring 11 feet in height, with 4 feet embedded in the ground, it is actually the largest and most beautiful anchor stone found to date. This photo was taken in 1977 by Ron Wyatt, showing the walls of Noah's home. Since then, all the walls have been torn down by local treasure seekers. In the front yard stood this large tombstone. On the tombstone was a drawing of 8 people and a boat on a wave. The second largest person was looking downward with their eyes closed. This indicates that this was Mrs. Noah's tombstone. These cities were consumed by intense flames, a supernatural heat that was directed by the hand of God. Today there is ash that is of lighter color than the surrounding mountains and terrain. As mentioned in the Bible, this is a desolate area where nothing grows. Inspecting the formations closely, one can see structures containing man-made elements, such as 90-degree angles. Even though the buildings were consumed by the fire, the remaining ash in these cities is comprised of a heavier material due to the inclusion of brimstone or sulfur, and still retains some of the original shapes of man-made structures. This stunning structure stands out as a singular formation with 4 sides, surrounded by a deep moat. Here we can see square windows that are visible in the walls of the structures, which give us a view of the past.
What you see in front of you here is the results of large and small, well, varying sized chunks of sulfur, burning sulfur that have hit. And what we find here is that God rained this burning sulfur down upon this city, and rain is a perfect description of it. It landed just in the pattern that rain would fall, and the stuff, of course, the accumulative heat of all of this upon the city set the entire thing ablaze. The flashpoint of every material there.
This brimstone is made of monoclinic, white sulfur that has been burned or cooked at a high temperature. It is quite different from natural sulfur that is formed in geothermal areas. Samples were taken to a lab for analysis. The results proved to be quite amazing. As the samples were found to be 98% pure sulfur, unlike any other sulfur found on Earth. This pure, cooked sulfur is the heavenly marker that was left behind to show the world that the Lord, without a doubt, destroyed these sinful cities at His command. Critics have said that the sulfur is from volcanic activity, but that type of rhombic sulfur is only 40% sulfur and is of a crystalline form, unlike the white, compacted monoclinic form that is found in the ashen cities today.
But what I want to really focus your attention to as well is the chariot wheels that were found in the sea at New Waiba. Is that a coincidence? They even took pictures and found actual chariot wheels, above chariot wheels fixed to axles, standing at attention on this seabed. You can see them right here. You can see one right here as well, and another right there. Above left, photo taken of a gilded chariot wheel that remains on the seafloor. It was found by Ron Wyatt using a molecular frequency generated from his boat above after he set the equipment to search for gold. The Bible said all the chariots of Egypt and 600 choice chariots of gold veneered models were in the army pursuing Yahuwah Elohim's people. It is speculated there were 20,000 chariots destroyed that day. Above right is a drawing of a 4-spoke chariot found in an Egyptian tomb from the same time period. 4, 6, and 8 spoke wheels are found here in the Gulf and were only used at the same time during the 13th dynasty, or 1446 BC, when the Exodus took place. But do they want you to know that? Why are they hiding this from you should be the question. Why don't they want you to know this? There were numerous chariot wheels plus human and horse bones at the crossing site. Above on right is a human femur bone that is covered by coral and was tested at Stockholm University. It is from the right leg of a man 365 to 170 centimeters tall. It is basically mineralized by resting in the Red Sea for 3,500 years. And we see more coral covering chariot wheels on a vertical axle that is buried in the sand. Although this is a typical, Bill Fry found this within 10 minutes of searching at New Waiba. So case in point, you can find these chariot wheels in New Waiba, Egypt. Oh, but you probably still think they're photoshopped. You probably still think this is a lie. It's time to wake up now.
And the Lord said to Moses, Behold, I will stand before you there on the rock at Horeb, and you shall strike the rock, and water will come out of it, that the people may drink. Standing on the crest of a hill, the singular rock stands 50 feet tall and can easily be seen from a great distance. He opened the rock and water flowed out. The fissure is so large, one can walk through the split in the rock. The rocks below show clear signs of water erosion. In the encampment area are many inscriptions, including this wonderful image of a menorah, which is undoubtedly the oldest ever found. From this same area, one can look upward and see the burned and blackened peak. The rock has literally been burned from the intense heat. When Moses was on the mountain with God, a golden calf was built in the camp by a rebellious group. As Moses was descending the mountain, he saw the people dancing around the golden calf. Here we can see the encampment from the mountain and the location of the altar for the golden calf. It was on top of these large boulders that the golden calf was placed. 11 of the 12 tribes, save the tribe of Levi, danced around the golden calf in rebellion to God. Panning from Mount Sinai, we peer through the fence and see amazing images that are inscribed on the rocks. Egyptian-style figures of the Egyptian god Hathor have been placed here like graffiti. The bull was placed in high esteem in Egypt, where the children of Israel had just left, so they created images that came natural to their rebellious heart. These images were inscribed here because the golden calf was resting here at the time. These inscriptions are unique to Saudi Arabia, according to a Saudi archaeologist.
What would you say would be the most significant discovery in, let's say, the past century? It's got to be the Dead Sea Scrolls. But what makes that discovery so important?
You know, it is the Dead Sea Scrolls. Qumran changed our understanding. It was like getting into a time machine and going back 1,000 years. The earliest manuscript we had was about 1000 AD. Suddenly they had manuscripts from the time of Jesus, in fact, to the 2nd century before the time of Jesus. And critical scholars said, well, when they get if we knew what was back then, we'd see how much the Bible changed. We went back and we saw how much the Bible stayed the same.
This is tremendous. Archaeologists in Israel, in the holy city, the city of the great king, Jerusalem, have discovered a 2,800-year-old clay tablet, an oval-shaped clay seal tablet bearing the signature, the signature of the prophet Isaiah the prophet.